I worked as a transporter at a hospital. About 2 years ago, we moved from the old city hospital into a new state-of-the-art facility. The old hospital was built in the 1930s and was showing its age, and at night was just plain creepy. Each floor had an east and west wing. The east wing on the 4th floor was the first wing to be shut down about 2 weeks before the move. One night at around 9:30, I'm up on the floor to get a patient from the west wing. I see a small group of nurses and aides who all used to work on the now closed east wing. They looked visibly shaken. I walked over to see if everything was okay. They told me that they had decided to walk through their old wing for nostalgia's sake. When they were over there, the phone at the nurses' station started ringing. The computers and phones had not yet been moved. Not sure what to do, one of the nurses reached over the counter and answered the phone. The nurse told me there was a woman's voice on the other end and that she sounded confused. This is the conversation as best as I can remember it.
"Hello, how can I help you?"
asked the nurse.
Hello? Who is this?
"I'm a nurse. Is there anything I can help you with?"
Where am I?
"This is..."
The nurse said the hospital's name.
"Are you a patient here?"
Oh, okay.
The line went dead. That's when the nurse finally looked at the screen on the phone to see where the call was coming from. The phone gave the room number directly next to the nurse's station. The rooms by this point had all been cleared out and the phones removed. They could see directly into the room and see that there was nobody in there. That's when they bolted towards the west wing where I was getting off the elevator. I avoided that wing for the rest of my time there. I work at a crisis nursery, which is a child care facility that provides emergency and respite care for children under the age of 7. I used to work graveyards all the time. I have to say first that I am absolutely a non-believer in paranormal stuff, at all. That being said, at 2 in the morning in a dark room when you and 2 or 3 other girls in their 20s are the only adults in the building, things can get creepy sometimes. Now, the facility I work in was named for a child that was beat to death by one of their parents. The nursery was started in their name as a way to hopefully prevent another child dying a violent death at the hands of their stressed out caregiver. So the story that goes around is that this kid's spirit haunts the nursery and is mostly active at night. I get told this on one of my first graveyard shifts, and I'm like, whatever, scare the newbie. That stuff doesn't really bother me. Well, later that night, one of the kids got up to use the bathroom. One of my coworkers helped the kid back to bed and returned to where we were all sitting. Pretty soon, somebody hears the water running in the bathroom. They go check it out. Yup, it's running. The coworker swears up and down that it was off when she and the kid left. Kind of weird, but I honestly think they're just trying to scare me. Well, they tell me that one of the reasons that everyone thinks this place is haunted is that many different people have reported different children asking about that kid. As in, why doesn't that kid have to go to bed? While they're pointing at nothing. I brush it off. Basically forget about it. A few weeks later, I was in the sleep room, the bedroom where all the kids sleep, by myself. I'm just chilling, reading a book with a book light. The rest of the room is pitch black and silent. All of a sudden, this kid, probably 4 to 5 years old, sits bolt upright in bed and says,
"Hey, how come they aren't asleep? Why do they get to play? I want to play too."
All while pointing at a wall with no kids anywhere in the vicinity. Instant crazy shivers all over me. I was so scared I almost screamed. I refused to be alone in there from that moment on. Around 12 years ago, I was working security at a small company's headquarters in New York City. My partner for the night had called in sick, so I had to work from 12 to 6 all by my lonesome. Now normally, this wouldn't be a problem. I just had to sit in the back room, watch some cameras, and occasionally head out for a sweep. Nothing to it, right? Well, as it turns out, one of the employees had stayed in the building after hours and had managed to avoid my coworker's sweep from the previous shift. I first noticed a movement in my peripheral vision on one of the screens, and then again a few minutes later. This was odd, because I was used to quiet nights in this particular building. I was a little scared when I headed out for my sweep, but it was my job, so I grabbed my flashlight and headed out to begin. I had to start the sweep in one big hallway, and right as I entered, I saw a flash of movement at the end of it. At this point, I was sufficiently freaked out. I stood frozen for a minute or so, looking into the semi-darkness, unsure of what to do. The decision was taken out of my hands, however, as I heard a gunshot resound down the hallway. In what was the scariest moment of my life, I slowly walked down that hallway to investigate. I reached the end and saw to my left that the president's office light was on. Slowly, I approached the door and creaked it open. What I saw will forever haunt me. The man had taken a seat in the president's chair and shot himself. In any case, I threw up a few times and called the police. I got the next 2 weeks off. I still have nightmares about it sometimes. I worked night audit at the semi-swanky hotel next to the airport. One night, I get a call from a lady in room 204. She says there was arguing, loud banging, and crying coming out of 206. I checked the computer. No one is checked into that room due to maintenance issues. I called my supervisor to see what to do. She tells me to call on-site security and follow them up with a key. No thanks, but I be the bigger man and go up anyways. As we get off the elevator, we can hear the crying. It's loud. My heart starts racing as we near the door, so I hand the key to the security guard. The next 5 minutes seem to happen in slow motion. He opens the door and immediately flicks on the light. Keep in mind, in room 206, we're on the second floor. Only door in was by me, and this is at like 3 a.m. and there's no one around. As we enter the room, the shower is on. Steam is coming from under the door. There is only one lamp on in the room. It's super cold, and there is a lady in a red lacy bra and black panties, with super red hair curled up crying on the bed. She was facing away from us. As the security guard approaches her, he asked her if everything was okay. She sort of stopped crying and rolled over. When she did, a wave of horror came over me. She was super pale, covered in blood, and was just staring behind us. That's when we realized the shower had stopped and the door was open. There was a man about 6'5" standing in the doorway. As we turned around, cops tased him and arrested him. Turns out he was a rapist who hides in hotel rooms, kidnaps women who stay there, and cuts them open. To this day, I will never go to a hotel again. I worked a security gig in an abandoned hotel, which sat directly on the river. When the rooms had balconies, they would hang out over the water. The hotel had closed down and had been stripped bare by the owners. I'm sitting in the office and I hear a from left to right on the floor above me. The hotel was wood frame and creaked like a house when someone walked around. This sounded exactly like someone walking the hall on the floor directly above the office. I go up to the next level and into the hall. The hotel itself was only 4 floors high, but long. The hall was bare walls, rooms with no doors, and only a single dim light bulb hanging from the ceiling in the middle of the hall. I have seen my share of horror stories and know this can only be trouble, but I start walking down the hall anyway. After all, it's my job to keep people out. I get about a quarter way down the hall, and I hear rustling coming from a room. I draw my mag light and get ready to use it. I slowly peek into the room and discover that it's the wind blowing in from the river and moving a curtain. Now freaked, I start checking the other floors and find nothing, but I know someone is in the building. I make my way back down to the ground floor, still finding nothing, and go into the old ballroom. It's a wide open space. Out of the corner of my eye, I see something moving, so I turn and shine my light on them, ready to defend myself. That's when I realized that it was my reflection in a broken mirror on the wall. After that, I noped the hell out of there and spent the rest of the night in my car in the parking lot. About 2 weeks after that, the place burned down. After all this time, I'm still convinced that someone was in the building, but I never found any evidence that there was.